It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
the Mixed Martial Arts Hour back in your life on this Monday, November 14th, 2016. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani, back inside our New York City studio on the Monday after UFC 205. What more can be said about Saturday night? What more can be said about the UFC's long-awaited, much-anticipated Madison Square Garden debut? There really isn't all that much more. I mean, I think we've really said it all going into the event and certainly after the event, but we are going to try to do our best to recap one of the most memorable nights in mixed martial arts history. And I think, right off the top, of course, by now you know what happened. You know most, if not all, the results. You know that Conor McGregor made history on the UFC's 23rd birthday on a night that we had been talking about for so long. He's the first fighter in UFC history to now be a champion in two weight classes at the same time. You know this already. You've heard it. You've seen the iconic photos. We all know that we're going to be talking about this for many, many years to come. The things that jump out at me right off the top are the UFC's debut at Madison Square Garden was everything we hoped it would be. It's everything that we dreamed about. It's everything that we wanted it to be. We wanted the UFC's debut at MSG to be unforgettable. I don't know if anyone knew it was going to be historic, that it would actually be in the history books, that it would be, a night that we would talk about for years and years to come, not only because it's the first event at MSG, but because actual history was made. Something that had never been done before happened inside the octagon. I mean, you can't write a better script than that. And it's only fitting that it was Conor McGregor who was center stage. It's only fitting that he was atop the bill. It's only fitting that after the event, the biggest star in the sport. And if you don't think that he is the biggest star in the sport now, I don't know what you're watching. I thought it was undeniable going into this event. I think it's ludicrous to say otherwise going out of the event. It feels to me like Conor McGregor, who was a megastar, an international star, an icon, going into this card, it feels to me like some way, somehow, he has reached another stratosphere. He is on a whole other level now. He is in the conversation with the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and, Lionel Messi, like international superstars in sport, in show business, in pop culture. I mean, my in-laws were asking me about him. They never asked me anything about mixed martial arts. And this feels like it's on a whole different level. It's not because, he's the first woman to do something. He's breaking down barriers. He's just a really, really, really good fighter who is able to capture people's imaginations. And that leads me to my next point about Saturday night. I think actually our old friend Ben Folks over at MMAJunkie.com put it best. I read his post-fight column on Sunday, and he said that, Conor McGregor's, and I'm sort of paraphrasing here, you can definitely go check it out. Conor McGregor's greatest strength, the thing that he has going for him that so many don't, is he's not afraid to embarrass himself. He's not afraid to put himself out there. And that to me is an amazing thing. Because if you look at what he's done in the UFC thus far, he continues to try to push the boundaries with no regard for the consequences. Calling out Jose Aldo from the get-go is a natural thing. But, the Nate Diaz situation, taking that fight on short notice, the Chad Mendes situation, taking that fight on short notice, the rematch with Nate Diaz, taking that fight when his entire team in the UFC told him not to take that fight, doing it at 170. Then after that, coming back rather quickly to try to make history on this historic stage. If you're not afraid of the consequences, if you're not afraid of embarrassing yourself, look at the heights that you can reach. And no one's really been like that in MMA. Sure, people have pushed the boundaries, but you get the belt, you try to stay secure. You try to wait till your next title defense. You try to be, a little more conservative than your journey to the top. We've seen that now time and time again. He has done the complete opposite. He truly isn't afraid to put himself out there. And in doing so, he has reached this whole other level of fame that I think, certainly in MMA, no one has ever reached. But I don't think anyone ever thought that an MMA fighter could reach 23 years into the game. The other thing is, which I think is so fascinating about him, is he has literally shaken up the establishment that is mixed martial arts. It is no secret that I think that the establishment that is mixed martial arts is deeply flawed. It is a deeply flawed sporting structure. The way it has been constructed from 1993 till now is deeply flawed. Boxing is deeply flawed as well. But we could talk about the lack of revenue sharing, what the fighters have made, how they've been treated, etc. He has completely abolished all of that. And yes, he is standing on an island all by himself. There's no doubt about that. But every single step of the way, to see how uncomfortable he makes the sort of the brass, if you will, if you want to call them that, is truly a sight to behold. I mean, just little things from him walking into the cage, doing the billionaire strut, looking around at everyone, letting them know who the real draw is. Who's the one who's really calling the shots here? Who's the one really making the money? He says the ship is going to sink if I'm not there. And of course, we don't necessarily believe that. But there is something to the effect of, like, he makes them a hell of a lot more money when he's involved. And he said, leading up to this point in his career, he was in a rush. He was in a rush to make history. He was in a rush to get one belt. He was in a rush to get two belts. Now, he holds all the chips. He truly does. And now he says, come to me. And to hear a fighter at a UFC press conference talk about, I want equity. Conan O'Brien has a piece of this company and I don't. I haven't even been approached by the new owners. You're going to have to come to me, and I'm going to take my time. I'm going to have a kid. I'm going to go back to Dublin. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to make money regardless of if I'm fighting. One of the few fighters who can say that. True money, life-changing money, regardless of if he's fighting. And when you guys are ready to start talking to me about real money, my door is open. And to hear someone say that is just amazing. We have never seen this before. We have never heard someone talk like this before. And you can only hope that others are taking notice. And I think there has been a trickle-down effect. But, this is a guy who made the $1 million purse just like a topic of conversation in May. No longer this unattainable goal. This is what fighters want now. This is what they expect. They now recognize that they can have this if they do things the right way. So he has literally, I know this is being said over and over again, but just recognize what this one man has done. And I really truly believe that his opponents still don't recognize how good of a fighter he is. If his next opponent, whoever that person is, and I wouldn't be surprised if the next time we see Conor McGregor is the next time the UFC comes back to Madison Square Garden, which as of right now is in November. If the next time he fights someone in MMA, if we hear his opponent say that he has been coddled, that he has been pampered, that he has been given, cupcake opponents, if we hear that out of his opponent's mouth, whoever that person is, that person deserves to be ridiculed. You cannot say that anymore. That makes you sound uneducated. You can say, I will beat him. I will figure out how to, neutralize that left hand. I will take him down. I will submit him. I will rough him up. I will bruise him. I will bloody him. But stop, please, to all his future opponents, stop saying that this guy is not worthy of the praise that he is receiving. Stop saying that he is not right now one of the greatest fighters of all time. Stop saying that he should not even be discussed in that pound for pound talk. Right now, you can make a very strong case, and I believe, was it Daniel Cormier, someone on Twitter, an active fighter who is in that discussion, said that he is number one pound for pound. Whatever the hell the pound for pound discussion means, Conor McGregor is now the champion at 155 and 145. At 145, he beat the greatest featherweight of all time. At 155, he beat a guy who had never been roughed up like that before. And in between that, he's fought a bunch of fighters. There's something in my throat. I'm sorry. He beat a bunch of fighters whose UFC records are stellar. It's just, look at it. Very few. Who is it? Diego Brandao, and I think Diego Brandao is no longer in the UFC, and Marcus Brimage. The rest are all still there and thriving for the most part. So he will piss a lot of people off. He will make a lot of people angry. He will offend a lot of people with his pre-fight interviews, his post-fight interviews, but you cannot deny what he has done up until this point. His flair for the dramatic, his recognition of history, his attention to detail. I mean, from what he says, what he wears, what song he comes out to, how he fights, what he says after the fights, every single step of the way. Appreciate this moment, MMA fans, because this isn't something that we've ever seen before. And this isn't, this is a guy who has literally, he has come out there, he's said it, and he's done it all. He's real. I mean, at this point, if Conor McGregor retires, yeah, you could say, oh, the rematch with Jose Aldo. Yes, there's a lot more that he can do. There's a lot more money that he can make. But who has had a 3.5-year stretch? Who has had a run like this in this sport? It's a marvel to watch, and it was fitting that it happened on that stage. It really was. Stop saying that he doesn't deserve it. Stop saying that he has been coddled. Stop saying, this stuff doesn't apply anymore. He is changing the game in front of our eyes while still winning. And he also proved that a loss in MMA, once again, isn't as bad as we all think it is. You remember what everyone said? Oh, just wait until he loses. Just wait until he falters. Just wait until he gets tapped out. Just wait until he gets knocked out. It happened. It happened 7 months ago. And no one cares. Absolutely no one cares. Even if he wouldn't have gotten that rematch with Nate Diaz, no one would have cared. That's the amazing thing. He lost in 2016. Right now, he's probably the fighter of the year for what he has done from a business and athletic standpoint. That's incredible. Usually you get a loss and you're completely disqualified. How do you deny him now? There are others in the conversation, no doubt. Stipe Miocic, Michael Bisping come to mind. There are certainly others in the conversation. But what he has done this year, who could have predicted him topping what he did last year? Incredible stuff. A memorable night, a night we'll never forget. They are going to have a picture of him holding those two belts at MSG for years and years to come. And I feel sorry for the people who are not allowing themselves to enjoy this, to appreciate this. Now, his opponents can be upset about this. There's no doubt, I understand why Khabib is frustrated. I understand why Frankie Edgar is frustrated. I understand why Jose Aldo is certainly frustrated. Those guys have an actual stake in the matter. But for the rest of us, appreciate this. Because at this point, who knows how long it's going to last? I fully expect him to have a very long career and to be around for a long time. But when he's talking about equity and things like that, who knows how these new owners are going to play that game? They would be foolish to not play that game. You've built this monster. Not the new owners necessarily, but the new owners were kind of part of the UFC beforehand. They were representing the UFC. You guys built this monster. Now you've got to keep feeding it. And I don't understand this idea, as I go on this rant to start the show. I don't understand this idea of being so adamant about stripping him of the belt. You have now figured out a way how to clone your biggest draw in 2 different weight classes. Historically, 2 different weight classes, by the way, which haven't been draws. And now you have figured out a way of how to clone him in 2 weight classes. And oh, by the way, even if he defended one of those belts half the time, meaning he fights 4 times next year in the next calendar year, which is probably not going to happen because of the kid, but let's just say he has the same year as he had this past year, which is 4 fights in 11 months. He is still more active than any other champion out there, even if he's defending the belt twice, and then the other belt the other 2 times. Why is there this urgency to take one of those belts away from him? Now, I fully expect the next time that there's a lightweight title fight, maybe even a featherweight title fight, it's going to be for the interim belt. Again, he's in no rush to come back. He's going to be a father, all that stuff. There's a game that's being played now. I actually think that what he said at the press conference after 202 is a lot more apropos now than it was back in August, which was shit's about to hit the fan. I think that he put that aside for this New York moment, for this opportunity to fight at MSG, and now what he was referring to is really going to come into play. That's what I think. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how they respond to this, because they don't want to lose their biggest draw, especially when you see, I mean, I don't know what to make of Ronda Rousey at this point, who is a massive star, a massive draw in her own right, and we'll see how that pay-per-view sells, but she just seems so unhappy. Is she happy to be back? Does she want to be back? I don't understand what is going on with Ronda Rousey. She just seems so angry. And I think, you know, if you can get by the politics, there's something very endearing about Conor's, you know, I don't give an F attitude. He is who he is. He's living the high life. More power to you. In this day and age, I feel like that's something, you know, that kind of shines like a ray of light. I don't know if a lot of people can get behind someone who is just so angry. What are you so angry about? You lost. It's okay. Come back. Like, why are you mad? I don't get it. Why are you so upset? You're mad at the media? You don't have to talk to us. You never have to talk to us again. What are you mad about? How people reacted to it? How the Paige Van Zants of the world reacted to it? I don't understand why you are so mad. Is that a selling point? Is that a selling point that people will care about? Is that something that they can get, you know, excited about? Can they get attached to that? Where's the old Ronda Rousey? Where's the joie de vivre Ronda Rousey? Why are you so mad? Okay, of course, there's a lot to digest. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to break down. There's a lot to reminisce about. There's a lot to talk about as it pertains to UFC 205. Let me quickly run down today's show, and we'll continue talking about it. Those are some initial thoughts right off the bat. At around 4:05, we're going to be joined by Yoel Romero. He had a big win over Chris Weidman on Saturday night. Just a jaw-dropping win. I mean, that flying knee was vicious. The aftermath was vicious. The blood coming out of Weidman's face was vicious. His post-fight interview was somewhat vicious, but very memorable. I mean, that was just great stuff from Yoel Romero. So he will join us at 4:05. At 3:05, we're going to be joined by Damian Maia in studio. And wow, boy, is there a lot to talk to Damian Maia about, right? I mean, Damian Maia was sitting pretty on Saturday night, just waiting to see who he will fight next, and then shades of UFC 125 all over again. Amazingly, now he may have to wait a little longer. If you recall, UFC 125, Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard, they're fighting New Year's Day, New Year's night, and they fight to a draw. And Anthony Pettis is sitting cage side, and you know he's left. You know, I should have brought that clip out, because it's very reminiscent of this situation. I remember talking to Anthony Pettis cage side, and he just had no idea what was going to happen. And Anthony Pettis had just won the WEC title in the final WEC event, the final WEC fight. He hit the Showtime kick. He beat Benson Henderson in Glendale, Arizona, like 3 weeks before. Let me pause there. Let's go to our phone lines, and I'll run through the rest of the card, because Joanna Jedrzejczyk is actually joining us on the phone right now. We had to switch things around, but she is kind enough to join us from the airport. Joanna, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm so sorry. I supposed to be at one with you and talk to you and have more time, but I had some troubles at the airport. But finally, I'm at the gate, and the boarding is just about to start it. But I'm happy to join your show again.
Oh, thank you so much, Joanna. Just so I know, how much time do we have? We have like 10 minutes or so?
We have like 5-10 minutes. Okay, let's
go.
Let's make 10 minutes. You know, I will talk to them. You know, I will show them my notes, and they will do this for me.
Yes, you are the true queen of New York. Okay, so let's start there. How are you feeling physically? Because you didn't show up to the press conference. Tell us.
I wanted to be back to the Madison Square Garden right after the show. I went to the hospital for the CT just to check my nose, because I wanted to check if I'm good, and the commission was just talking about. So I'm good. My nose is not broken, just 3 bruises. It was just swollen, so I feel great. Today I'm happy. Yesterday I was a little bit tired, a little bit sad. My family left because I'm not flying home. I have some stuff to do in South America for the next 2-3 weeks. So I'm very happy. Today I'm full of energy. I'm very happy that I was part of the biggest event so far, that I was part of 205, and I could fight at Madison Square Garden in New York City, you know, and probably I'm the happiest person on the earth right now,
Wow.
Because I defended my title for the fourth time, and I'm happy to talk to you guys.
It is a pleasure to talk to you as well. By the way, what do you have to do in South America?
I cannot talk about so much, but it's a little secret. But I will keep on busy all the time. But it's a little bit secret. It's a Polish production, but it's a secret.
Okay, fair enough. Was Karolina tougher than you thought she would be?
No. I expect that fight. You know why I say champion? What about the press conference? I was back to the hotel when the press conference started, and I texted Dana if he wants me to be back. He was like, no, take care of yourself, rest, and that's why I didn't show up. But I was ready to go. So she was tough, but I'm a champion. I'm still a champion because I'm so humble in the gym, I'm so humble every day. I'm hard for myself. I challenge myself. I learn every day, and I'm making the right decisions in my life, in my fighting career. That's why I stay a champion, Like, Karolina was tough. I didn't disrespect her before the fight. Even I had really tough fight with Claudia Gadeja or with Valerie Letourneau. It wasn't the toughest fight for me, I was so dominant in this fight. I felt so great. I felt like I could do more, but I did just enough, Okay, she dropped me in the fourth round, but that's all. So she was dangerous for maybe 15 seconds, but I felt great, and I was okay, and I'm good. She was not the toughest one, but I expected very tough fight from her. She was a challenger, and I know that the Polish chicks are tough, so it's a whole story division.
So a lot was going on in your life going into this fight, and we talked about this the last time you're on the show, but now that it's over, I mean, leaving home for this training camp, leaving your old team, joining a new team, not having, a manager per se, and I know that garnered a lot of attention. Looking back now, can you honestly just sort of break down how this training camp was for you? Was it a little more stressful? Did you put a little...
Well, was not stressful. I felt great. I was so calm, so confident. I had a very good camp. I had very good relation with my coaches. I think we put on work in last 7 weeks, 6-7 weeks, and I'm looking forward to work more with them, with Mike, Kami, Katel, with ATP, and the people who are there. I'm looking forward. I want to learn with them. I want to challenge the world with them, and I want to keep on winning with them, and I will do this. We have a plan to make my game even stronger, and I'm looking forward. I will fly back to Florida at the end of January. I need to spend some time with my family, but no pressure, no stress before the fight. I just had meeting with my future management company, but like I said, when I'm preparing for my fight, I am 100% focused just on my preparations, and this is what I did, no pressure. Of course, everything was new, a new corner, new people around me, but I felt great. I feel like from the first seconds, from the first days, I was having very good relation with my coaches, and this is what I like. They are the best in the business, and they are very loyal people, and it's all about the good relation, and I feel great with my new coaches and my new team.
So let's break some news, because I got to tell you, after you were on my show around a month or so ago, when you said you don't have a manager anymore, every single manager in this sport contacted me to get to you. They all want to manage you. So who is your new manager?
Yeah, I know. I'm not signed yet. I had very good meeting with the company, with the people who I met before a few times, because like I said, I'm looking for the best management company. I met and I spoke to so many of them, and every speech was the same, the same. And I got sick of it, because of course I had so many people, they were promising me everything and much more, but the thing is, I said, I want to work with the best people, because I'm the best in the world, and I will try to defend my title and be the best for the next few years.
When you see what Conor did on Saturday, making history, first person to have 2 belts in 2 different weight classes at the same time, you've talked about this. You've talked about being the 125-pound champion. Does this give you a little more extra? Do you say, okay, now I want this too. I want this to happen next year. I want my moment with the 2 belts as well. Do you think it can happen in 2017?
Sure. It will happen in 2017. I think that I earned that, I deserve that, and I feel like I've got so much attention from the media, from the international media, and from Dana. I put on great work again, on great fight, and I think like this might happen. I'm very calm now. Now I want to just enjoy my victory. I have some stuff to do, some work to do. I want to enjoy my time with the family, and then I will sit, talk to the UFC, talk to Dana, and we will figure out what to do.
I saw an article you spoke to, I think, Rolling Stone, and you talked about wanting to start a family and maybe not having many fights left. Can you tell us a little more about?
In the future, it's my goal, but I'm 100%. Right now, I'm focused on my fighting career. I put lots of on stage. I'm focused on my fighting career, and this is what I want to do for the next few months, a year, maybe 2 years, and then I will see. I will sit after that, and we'll figure out what to do.
And looking back, was it weird for you to fight a fellow Polish woman? Did you not like that you were both?
No. For me, it doesn't matter who I fight.
Who?
Yes. So it's I don't mind, fighting my country women.
She was campaigning afterwards to have a rematch in Poland. Do you like that idea?
I said, no, come on. She lost the fight,
Yeah.
It was like 10 to 8 every round, maybe the fourth round. She was injured for 10 seconds. Like Woodley and Thompson deserved the rematch, The fight was so close and it was title fight, but man, come on. She cannot talk about, like, I heard that they were running to Dana right after the fight and asking for the rematch. Come on.
So in your mind, is there someone that you think is the number one contender right now? Because there's no clear-cut choice.
I don't know. Right now, I'm enjoying my victory. I'm very happy that I handled this fight after really champ. I had a very bad moment for a second, but I was back, and this is who I am. I'm the real champion, the real strawweight champion of the world.
When you say bad moment, did you get anxious in the cage? Did you get nervous? Because you've never been in that position before. Are you happy with the way you reacted?
Of course not.
No?
I woke up, I was like, oh, what just happened?
Yeah.
Oh, she saw how they dropped me. It was just for a second. But then the moves, the steps, which I did, I was confronting this person. I was like, I'm back. She can do this for me. She can do this to me, I was like, I'm back, and I will handle this fight. I will control this fight till the end. And this is what I did,
Okay, 3 more quick things before I let you go. I noted at the open workouts, you appear to be in the best shape of your career. Do you agree with that statement? You seemed, very fit, very muscular.
Sure.
You just seemed different physically.
Sure. I've been working with perfecting athletes. I'm very thankful to Michelle, Paulina, Denise. It was my second camp with them. They're amazing, I was since I got to the martial arts 13 years ago, I was I learned more about the healthy lifestyle, healthy food, being good athlete, in shape, with good food. Like they changed my point of view. They are different, Michelle is a doctor, a nutritionist. Same about Paulina. She's preparing all the meals, and it was amazing, how I felt before the fight with Claudia. Right now, how the weight cuts are easy, and how I feel, how healthy I am, and this is amazing. So I'm looking forward to work more with them, and I'm happy that they are in Florida. So they are around me every day, and. The only thing I matter is the training and rest. Everything I have around me in Florida.
In a perfect world, when do you want to return? I know you're taking some time off, but do you think you'll be back?
Maybe London, maybe March 18. I'm kidding, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe April, maybe May. Maybe April, maybe May. I don't know. After the Christmas, I will sit and talk to the UFC, and we will figure out when they want me to fight, and when I want, I will want to fight. So that's the thing.
What do you think the chances are of your next fight being in Poland? Do you think that's possible, or?
Of course, I want this show in Poland, and I think that I will fight maybe in the second part of the 2017.
Okay.
Why not?
And the last thing for you, can you tell us, other than winning, of course, what's the moment that's going to stick out for you, being a part of this historic card, just being in New York and everything that came with it? Is there something that maybe we didn't see, a moment backstage, an interaction, something that you saw that you think, when you're going to be an old lady one day, you'll always remember, you'll tell your children and grandchildren about?
Oh, that I never give up, that I never give up. And I'm just normal human being, you know. I want people to show the real Joanna, not the Joanna from the octagon, you know, the violent one who is just about to win, you know. I'm a different person, you know, but I like to put on work. I like to put on great performance. I like to put on great fight. This is MMA. This is how this business looks like, you know. But I want to show to people that you cannot just dream. You must do something about it, you know. Like, you can change your life if you want. My life changed so badly since I became a UFC fighter, became a UFC champion. Now I'm making big money, and my biggest dreams came true. But I put on the right work, and I want to show to people and build the confidence in them that they can do this. You know, put on work, and hard work pays off. And this is my motto. You know, we cannot just wait and complain or dream about. You know, we must put on work. You know.
Very well said, Joanna. Congratulations. What a pleasure
Thank
it
you,
has
Ariel.
been.
It's very nice to talk to you. All the best to you guys, and thank you to all of the fans from all over the world, from New York. Thank you so much for everything, for all the support. You are amazing. The Irish fans, the Polish fans, the American fans, all of you guys. I love you so much. I will be back soon, and I will talk to you soon. So kisses and stay healthy. Yeah?
Yes, and thank you for squeezing us in. Safe travels to you, Joanna. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There she is, Joanna Jedrzejczyk, coming in as quickly as a New York minute to join us here. Tremendous stuff from her. Very happy that we could get her on. She was stuck in security at 1 when she was supposed to come on, so I had to stall a little bit and give you my 3 cents on Saturday night. But I got a few more cents to share. So thank you very much to her. And also, I mean, in defeat, it must be said that a lot more people know who Karolina Kowalkiewicz is. I think a lot more people are emotionally invested in her. I think a lot of people enjoyed her demeanor going into the fight, enjoyed her demeanor after the fight, enjoyed the way she fought. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, in a loss, I think her stock went up a little bit. And so that's sometimes a rare thing. I mean, we see that from time to time. I think Wonderboy Thompson, in a draw, his stock went up as well. But this was a nice moment for Karolina Kowalkiewicz, someone who was not in the UFC this time last year, someone who some of the UFC employees still can't pronounce her name. And quite frankly, it's a lot easier to pronounce her name than Joanna Jedrzejczyk. How are we still going on TV and mispronouncing Karolina Kowalkiewicz? It's not that hard if you break it down that way. And how is it going through the process, you know, like the checks and balances process? Because a lot of people have their eyes on that stuff, and no one is saying, you know what, maybe we should change this. This isn't the way you say her name. Let's just get it right. Anyway, okay, so thank you to Joanna. Running down the rest of the show, let me just quickly finish that. 3:05, we're going to be joined by Damian Maya in studio. 2:05, John Kavanagh back in studio to keep the tradition going. 1:45, Tyron Woodley will join us to talk about the draw and where he goes from here. Mr. New York Rick, are you there?
I'm here.
So you were there in attendance on Saturday night. What are you wearing? What is that shirt?
Tyson?
Oh, I thought that was, I don't know. I thought that was an MMA fighter in front of an American flag, but I couldn't tell.
Tyson in front of an
American flag.
American flag.
Okay, so there's a lot to discuss.
Another New York related thing. I mean, Tyson, a New York legend. But anyway.
Sure.
Continue.
Okay, UFC 205. I want to quickly run down the card here,
Yep.
and then you're going to come in with your own 2 cents because you were in attendance.
I was with D. Diaz, the winner of our DraftKings contest.
D. Diaz, who was the third Diaz member, right, from the contest.
She did like a countdown style video.
And just so we know, why did you pick her?
A few factors. There were a few things that I was weighing. One, she took a risk. She put herself on camera. There were some great submissions. One in particular, people were upset that I didn't pick was Petey Ngia, who put some great content out there. He did Machida impressions, BJ Penn impressions, all that, but he didn't put his face on camera. She took a risk. So if she, ultimately didn't win, she put a minute of herself of potential embarrassment on the internet. So she took a risk. She got it in nice and early. Clearly, she wasn't copying anybody. That's one potential thing. And then also, she put some time and some production elements into it. She really, utilized what she had and made a great video. So I was happy with her submission a lot.
Was it weird weird? Was it awkward? I mean,
Not at all. She's a super sweet
come
girl.
on,
really
be
normal.
honest. Don't give us the
Nope.
bull. Come on.
Could not have been a
You
nicer,
meet someone,
more
and now
down
you
to
have
earth.
to sit with them for 7
Well,
hours.
here's the thing. DraftKings set us up in a suite
yeah, I
with
saw
other
this.
winners.
What is that all about? So really,
so-
you don't get the awkwardness of the one-on-one.
Exactly. That's great.
But that's not fair.
No,
I
but
wanted the
either
awkwardness.
way, it would have been fine to sit next to her. She was really sweet and really normal.
So you were in a suite?
yeah.
You were surrounded by 10 or so people.
Yeah, other winners of tournaments on DraftKings who were then competing at UFC 205.
I feel like you sold us some wolf tickets.
How do you figure?
I wanted the shot of you two sitting alone, section 325, and having to have that 7-hour awkward.
I don't know
but by the
if
end,
my wife and her boyfriend would have.
well, I mean,
liked
we didn't know that a woman was going to win.
This is fair, but it was a good time, and I hope she had a good time as well.
Okay, so there you were taking it all in. Starting at the bottom, Liz Carmouche, Caitlin Chookagian. Carmouche wins. I thought that this was a very silly match to make for Caitlin Chookagian, who
Yeah.
I think is a big-time prospect at 135. I think she's going to get a lot better, but she is a great striker, and the wrestling right now is her Achilles heel. You're putting her in there against Liz Carmouche, who is just an absolute beast when it comes to the mat. She is relentless. She appeared to be in the best shape of her career. I mean, I couldn't believe her back, her abs. I mean, she was just ripped, Liz, and she had not fought for quite some time, but I just thought it was ill-advised to put Caitlin in there with Liz Carmouche right off the bat. Now, I love the story of Liz, first ever women's fight in UFC history, first ever women's title fight in UFC history, 157 against Ronda Rousey, and now here she is in the first ever fight at MSG, but I didn't like this matchmaking. I thought it was a mistake.
Agree with you completely. Not the matchup you wanna put a fighter like Caitlin in initially, if you're trying to showcase her. But Liz, I mean, showed who she is. Good fight out of her. But I agree with you stylistically that probably wasn't ideal.
Also notable right off the top was that it was a very late arriving crowd. I mean, you probably showed up for like the Frankie Edgar fight, right?
Funny. I was there from the jump.
What was up with that crowd?
I mean, you were expecting it to be full?
Well,
This is New York.
Every time
there's something to do.
Every time the UFC goes to a market for the first time, it is, I'd say, 90% full before the first fight. And I just figured, I mean, these people bought really expensive tickets.
But the reason is, and this is a feeling I had all week, and you tell me if you agree with this. It is very hard, I dare say impossible, to make a splash in New York City with any event. It doesn't matter what it is. You're going to draw attention, but it's very, very hard to shut down New York City and be the sole focus. And I don't think that even an event as big as the first UFC at Madison Square Garden is going to do that. There's just so much going on. And then you compound that with the election fallout and the protests and things like that. It wasn't the type of thing where UFC, or I don't think anybody, can take over New York City, where everybody on the street is talking about it. Now, you're going to have the fight fans in town talking about it, but I don't think that it completely shut down the city like it would for some other cities. And therefore, everybody's, enthused about it. Everybody knows about it. They're showing up early. I think there's just too much to do in New York. You want to have that nice dinner out, that expensive dinner, and then show up pay-per-view time.
I think it was a Las Vegas high roller crowd.
Yeah.
Who doesn't really care about the Liz Carmouches and
For sure.
Kings, who's going to show up, because you notice, like, once Khabib, Frankie fought, that's when it really started to fill up for the pay-per-view. I don't think we really got, the true hardcore New York mixed martial arts fans. And even credit to Dana White, who said this afterwards, he was unhappy with the ticket prices in the sense that, they priced out a lot of the fans who had truly been waiting for this event at MSG for a long time. Now, they made the gate was 17.7 million, a UFC record, an MSG record, but it was a very Vegas-like crowd in that regard.
For
I will
sure.
say this: they didn't boo a lot. It wasn't one of those like annoying, uneducated, crowds that will just boo right off the bat. But at times it was a little more dead than I thought, and I also thought that the length of the event, once they got to, the second title fight, people were really starting to get a little anxious for the Conor arrival and the Conor fight and all that stuff. And I thought that they dipped down a little bit, but they got their second win. Okay, so Thiago Alves, Jim Miller. Jim Miller wins. Thiago Alves misses weight. And this kind of highlighted the new era that is MMA in New York State, because the New York State Athletic Commission has a rule that you can only be within X amount of pounds of your opponent per weight class. So each weight class is different. This is on page 58 of their rule books and guidelines. And I honestly feel like no one in the UFC knew this. I feel like the fighters certainly didn't know, and I feel like the UFC brass didn't know as well, because we get word on Friday that Thiago Alves is going to miss weight, and he comes in at around like 164 something, but he came in first. So Jim Miller, who was still cutting weight, was able to add a few pounds so that he can be within that 7 pound, that 7 pound radius, so to speak. Now Donald Cerrone weighed in first, and Gaslam was above whatever weight limit he could be given this New York guideline, and then Cerrone gets disqualified from the fight because Gaslam couldn't get down to within 7 or 8 pounds or so. So this kind of was a debacle of all debacles. So we have Alves, who weighs in way above 155. And then he kind of drops the bomb that he's no longer working with Mike Dolce, so Dolce's record remains pristine. And I still question the drop to 155. He loses the fight, doesn't look particularly great, and in the process, we have this drama with the weights. We lose the Cerrone fight. This was something that I think the New York State Athletic Commission will get, they'll get better at. Come Brooklyn, come the World Series of Fight. But wow, it was like, wow, this is like truly a out of the box, freshly out of the box commission who maybe didn't relay this message to its participants.
Yeah, and I feel like we get this from time to time when they enter a new market, and sometimes even without entering a new market, we see sometimes where fighters have skated by with an extra pound, or there's been some controversy about that possibly happening. For a first go around, there's going to be hiccups. I think what's interesting is the fact that if Cowboy Cerrone hadn't weighed in early, there would have been an opportunity for him to fight. So I'm sure now nobody will make this mistake again. Everybody will be keenly aware of it for the Brooklyn show and in regard to WSOF show as well. But yeah, I mean, there's no mistake about it that it was botched on the first time.
Brooklyn show, by the way, is February 11th, UFC 209. Vicente Luque with a great knockout. He gets the first finish over Bilal Muhammad, New Jersey's own Vicente Luque. So a nice moment for him. Tim Boach, who all of a sudden, we thought was kind of done not that long ago. He gets another nice finish. He TKOs Rafael Sapo Natal, New York's own Sapo Natal, in the first round. So now we're rolling. And then we get to Khabib Nurmagomedov, who finishes Michael Johnson in the third round. Although I thought it started a little slow for Khabib. Once he got to his wrestling, once he went back to his... He was getting tagged early on.
I think he wanted to prove a point.
I don't know if he proved it.
He did not prove the point I think he wanted to prove, which was that he could stand with him. Now, I think when you say you want to stand with somebody, you actually want to land some of your own offense. Michael Johnson was tagging him up. But what we did see is that he can definitely eat some left straights, and we know who throws left straights. So... He proved that his chin is still there, if nothing else. And he's been in some wild ones before, like his fight with Gleison Tebow, where he's eaten shots. He proved his chin is still there. And I think, we all saw that the wrestling and the crushing top game is still there.
And then the promo of all promos. I mean, I was saying that Romero was the Iron Sheik circa 1984. This was straight out of the Iron Sheik's playbook. I mean, first of all, speaking in Arabic, speaking in Russian, crapping on all the Irish fans, calling their guy chicken. I mean, this was one of the great promos of all time, let alone on Saturday night. One of the greatest promos of all time after a win.
I would go so far as to say Romero and Khabib delivered two of the best promos in UFC history.
Heel promos. Not being afraid of putting yourself out there, not being afraid of the consequences, and really just crapping all over the fan favorite.
Which is amazing because somehow Romero's the heel when Bisping is the one on the set flipping him off and doing fake injection stuff.
This might be the first time
Romero's the heel, which is amazing.
This might be the first time that Bisping is the unanimous babyface going into a fight. But sticking with Khabib, that promo was just so perfect, and it was so perfect after what Tony Ferguson didn't do last weekend. I hope Tony Ferguson was sitting at home on Saturday night and said, I blew a big opportunity. I will even go as far as to say this. I tried to get Tony Ferguson very, very, very much so on this show, and nothing. Nothing. Crickets. I don't know if he's mad at me. I don't know what's going on, but how are you not taking advantage of this opportunity? How are you now all of a sudden the biggest draw in the game is in your weight class? This is your lottery ticket. Don't tell me that you don't want to fight for belts. Don't tell me that you don't want to get paid. You just had a baby. You want to get paid. You want to be secure. You want to make money. What is going on here? And Khabib did the exact opposite. And how can you say that he's not the number one guy? Regardless of the promo, he's the number one guy. He's 24-0. He's undefeated in his career, let alone the UFC. But he is the number one guy. He cemented it with that promo, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and he's just been downright surly all week. I mean, from your interview with him,
which I thought that was a 10-7 for Helwani. I don't know about you.
Well, maybe you're trying to use reason with a guy who's just clearly upset.
I mean, don't be mad at me because your manager didn't relay the message, my man.
You made your case very well, but you're not going to convince him.
I could have made my case even more. I was trying to be nice. I mean, I was saying like this guy has a family. Like I don't want to go that hard.
But he's been surly all week, and it led to that promo. And then he did an interview with the UFC. Megan O'Leary talked to him, and he continued that. He was the star. I'd say if obviously Conor McGregor stole the show, but if there's a 1B. Khabib certainly made his case there.
Yeah, the chicken comment. I mean, I thought I was watching 1980s pro wrestling. It was great. You go get Tyron Woodley as I just quickly run through the rest of the card. Frankie Edgar defeats Jeremy Stevens. Hard-fought fight. I think we all kind of expected it to go this way. But Frankie coming out and saying that he severely injured his MCL going into the fight, had to get an epidural, but there was nothing that was going to stop Tom's Rivers' own Frankie Edgar from finally getting that moment at MSG. You saw how happy he was, how elated he was. I mean, this was a beautiful moment for him. A guy, outside of Weidman, a guy who did so much to lobby for the sport, was at every press conference, went to Albany, did everything that he could to put, a professional face attached to this sport. Very, very cool moment for Frankie Edgar. Raquel Pennington continues to evolve into a really damn good MMA fighter, a very tough and scrappy MMA fighter. No longer that sort of 500 kind of gatekeeper-like fighter in the women's bantamweight division. She is a force to be reckoned with here. She completely neutralizes Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate did not seem like herself. And then the real shocker of that fight, Miesha Tate announces her retirement. And maybe it's not a shocker. I mean, if you recall, she flirted with retirement last year when she didn't get the Ronda Rousey fight and Holly Holm did. But anytime you hear someone, start to flirt with it, that, the end is sort of near. She is still just 30 years old. And you wonder, in a year, 18 months or so, when, her life quiets down, she gets back on track, maybe she misses the sport a little more. You wonder if this is it, because I do kind of feel like she has some fight left in her. But after those two losses back to back, and in particular the Amanda Nunes loss, Miesha Tate announcing her retirement at MSG, I don't think is something that anyone thought was going to come. I think she gets she needs to get her life in order, get healthy again, just kind of miss the sport a little bit, and forget about some of the drama and the politics. And then maybe we'll see her back. But Miesha Tate is a pioneer in my eyes. Did pretty much anything someone in her position could do, winning the Strikeforce title, an amazing moment of Ramar Luz-Kunin, winning the UFC title, an amazing fight, an amazing submission of Holly Holm back in March. What more can you say about Miesha Tate? And we'll talk a little more about her later on the show.